Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Slip Safety Show. Joining me today is Gary Fage, who's the MD of Janitorial Express. As you'll hear, Gary is absolutely passionate about the environment and getting this right, and given he works in the janitorial supply industry, which traditionally has been a sector that has struggled with getting this message across and making an impact in this area, it's fascinating to hear his take on this and what he's doing in a really positive and proactive way to try to address some of these issues for the good of us all. It's a great chat with Gary. He really knows his stuff, and I'm sure you'll get some inspiring messages from it, and hopefully it'll make you think a little bit about the sorts of things that you could do to make a positive impact on the environment while still delivering your business in a quality way, still ensuring the same impacts for your clients, but doing something good for the world at the same time. Let's crack on with it then and join my conversation with Gary Fage of Janitorial Express.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Christian.
It's nice to connect and get the lovely view of your tube map in the background. Because you'll tell us a bit about your business in a minute, but you're primarily London based, right?
Yeah, we're based in Islington, fairly central.
Yeah, I used to live up that way. I used to live up just off Southgate Road.
Okay, I'm not quite familiar with that.
Down the Essex Road, de Beauvoir Town.
Right, fair enough. We're slightly sort of south of that. We're about a mile north of King's Cross, which is we're just off the Caledonian Road, quite close to Pentonville Prison.
Okay, so I know the Cali Pool a bit. I've been in there a few times.
Yeah, indeed. That's just down the road from us. So, yeah,
far from there. Oh, very good. Small world.
Indeed.
Small
Absolutely.
world. So can we start, Gary, by giving just a bit of background about you and the business? So kind of, where you've come from and how you've got to where you are now. I know that's a big topic, but.
No, absolutely. Well, it's funny we're talking about Cali Road because we initially started a small janitorial supplies business in Caledonian Road in 1991, I believe.
Okay.
So the business is almost 30 years old. And we've gone along quite nicely, sort of growing most years, year on year, building into a reasonable sized business. But there was no real focus to the business at all, I always felt, and it wasn't exactly inspiring. But I think what happened for me is I saw the David Attenborough series Blue Planet. And that really struck a chord with me. I was just incredulous at what I'd seen, and kind of felt I need to do something about this. I need to be passionate about something in my business. And I decided that I would try to convert all my customers from buying petrochemical-based products, which I've been selling for the last 27 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Try to get them into environmentally friendly products. My big fear was that there was an awful lot of greenwashing at that time. People were claiming to have products that really weren't good for the environment.
Yeah.
I came across an old friend of mine, a guy called Michel de Bruyn, who's a Dutch guy that I'd known for, 25 years through family connections. And he'd always been into the environmental side of things. I think they pioneered microfiber cloths in Europe, sort of 20 odd years ago. And we were chatting, I think it was probably at one of the Amsterdam cleaning shows. And he said, look, we've got this whole new thing now. We are pushing this cradle to cradle accreditation, which is something I'd never heard of before. And I thought, my God, this actually gives the whole thing some credibility. Because the cradle to cradle concept was built on 5 pillars. And it wasn't just about the environment. It was about the way you treat your staff. It was about water conservation. And the more I learned about it, I thought, I could take my business off in a whole new direction. And I could actually have a purpose in my life. My business was kind of surrounded by.
Yeah.
And we talked to the team and they really bought into it. So we got management consultants in that really helped us to formulate this idea. And I now feel inspired by the whole thing. I feel excited about going to work every day. I kind of feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
It took us about 9 months to really get one of our biggest clients on board, and they've totally bought into it, which is fantastic. So where we are at the moment is we've probably converted 30% of our clients. So from 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, when nobody was buying anything environmentally friendly at all, I've now got 30% of my clients transferred over to buying probiotic products, essentially. Some vegetable based, but mostly probiotics.
Yeah.
It's quite a challenge for me. I'm quite excited about the whole situation.
Yeah.
And it's a reason to get out of bed every morning. So it just makes the whole thing worthwhile.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's kind of a potted history of the last 30 years, really.
Yeah. No, it's great, and it's very inspiring, and you certainly stand out on LinkedIn and these other, and other trade publications and things, because actually you're banging this drum, very vociferously, which it's a trend in the industry which people, of course, have been talking about, but actually there's a lot of, I guess, what I would call talk and not that much action, whereas actually you're implementing it and actioning it, which is great to see.
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. It's about being proactive. I mean, we're very much behind creating a circular economy, and Cradle to Cradle is all about that. But I think everyone's got to do their own thing. So Greenspeed have developed this range of products. They're probiotic, which for me I think is the future. And I was thinking to myself, we really need to add something ourselves as well. So the bottles that these products come in are recyclable, totally recycled as well. And I thought, well, what else can we do as well? Because you probably know as well as I do that, yes, plastics are recyclable, but I believe only 30% of them actually end up being recycled. So a lot of it goes to landfill. So I'm thinking, what can I do as a business to change that? So I got talking to a guy called Elliot Lancaster, who's quite a famous guy in the cleaning industry from the Lancaster family. He just started a business called I Recycle. And basically what those guys do is they take waste, they collect them in electric vehicles, take them to Camden Basin, where they transfer the product by barge to a specialist recycling centre. And I thought, this is great. We can really sort of get on the back of that. So what we do now is we offer our clients the option to, so basically we'll collect the bottles once they've used them.
Yeah.
And we won't go there special. We'll do it next time we deliver a fresh delivery.
Yeah.
We'll collect the bottles in, take them back to our warehouse. I Recycle collect them. Then they get transported by barge to the recycling unit. And I thought, what, that kind of completes the circle. That's something I felt that we did. I believe that everybody has to find their own little niche.
Yeah.
So that's something we could do. And I would urge everybody, everyone's unique, every business is unique. What can you do in your business to help the environment? So that's kind of a bit of a mission that I'm on at the moment, encouraging other people to think about how they run their businesses, how they live their lives. So that's my kind of central theme at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something we've been thinking about a bit as well, as I think any responsible business should. And we've got plans, as we scale up our team, to be using electric vehicles and things like that. And I think one of the value propositions for our kind of work, I suppose, is that if we could come in, once every 6 to 12 months to do some of our work on a floor, that negates and reduces the need for as much ongoing cleaning, and therefore you're saving electricity, saving plastic, saving chemicals, and all this stuff as well. So it's certainly not a core sort of part of what we sell, for want of a better term, but it's certainly included in the way we're thinking.
Sure. I've always believed in planned maintenance. I think you're absolutely right that you do cut down on costs for the client. There's also a fixed element to the cost as well. They know exactly how much they're going to pay.
Yeah.
But if you leave it to the last moment and it becomes a sort of disaster clean, then probably more expensive, I would say, and consuming more energy, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Could you, because I haven't looked into this in that much detail, so I'm interested in the cradle to cradle piece. I think you said there are 5 pillars. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I will do, and I'll refer to my notes if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so the first pillar is about material health. So it's about where the product comes from. Now, I'm a great believer in using probiotics because friendly bacteria, it's the stuff that goes into the yogurt, so it goes into your gut. It's not going to do you any harm. Now, we all know how bacteria multiply, so there's no end to the amount of resources you've got there.
Yeah.
And of course, these things all die off, and it all becomes part of the circle. The second pillar is material reutilization. So essentially, I think in the whole C2C model, there are 2 parts to it, essentially. There are the biological side of it, and then there's the technical side of it. So the biologics are making sure that these tiny bugs, when they've done their job, they get flushed into the ocean, and essentially they become almost food for the fishes. So one of the concepts of cradle to cradle is waste equals food.
Right.
So that's the first side of it, and then you've got the mechanical cycle. So essentially, that would be products made of wood and metal, and that I find quite fascinating. So again, to get the cradle to cradle accreditation, you need to conform to pillar 2. And then pillar 3 is the renewable energy use. So you need to be absolutely committed to using renewable energy. The 4th pillar is water stewardship. So essentially, and it depends at what level you get the cradle to cradle accreditation. I think the gold means that you put the water back into the water stream in just as good condition as you took it out.
Yeah.
And I think with the platinum, you actually put it back in better condition than you took it out.
Wow.
And finally, the 5th pillar is about so that's about making sure that you treat your staff in the right way, that the factories where the products are produced in don't cause any problems for staff. And I think, we very much believe that. We've signed up for London Living Wage, and I believe so they're essentially the 5 pillars of the C2C accreditation.
Yeah.
And I think when you're scored on each of these, and you end up getting the score of your lowest score, if you know what I mean. So if one of those pillars scores bronze, that's your overall rating.
Yeah. That's good.
Greenspeed have done incredible. Yeah, I think it gives the whole thing credibility. As I say, from the very beginning, there were so many people engaging in what has become known as greenwashing, to have your credibility questioned like that, because I think once you've ruined your reputation, there's really no going back. And I know there are things like eco-label, European eco-label, Nordic eco-label as well, and they're great. But for me, cradle to cradle just goes one step further and has all those additional things that you really need to comply with.
Yeah.
So I think what I would say is, if you pick up a product with cradle to cradle accreditation on it, then you know that that's really where it should be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really attracted me to that kind of accreditation. And when you look around, there are not many people have actually got that. I believe Greenspeed was the first to have it for commercial, maybe 1 or 2 others now that have got it. I think there's a company in Belgium and in Germany as well.
Okay.
So that's been my kind of real focus.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I think that's definitely something that people, should be and I'm sure will want to be aspiring to. I really like the fact that your overall score is equal to your worst level as well? Because I think I see so many
Yes.
examples of kind of accreditation, or we're seeing a lot of these kind of COVID secure certificates and things like
Yes.
that. And actually, you kind of I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical about some of this stuff, and you just think, well, perhaps they're getting,
There's outrageous out there.
yeah. And I can think there's a scheme in one of the sectors we work in where they, there's this kind of annual award, and you can get, good or excellent or whatever. But then you walk into these places and looking at it with my eyes and my skill set, they're filthy, and you think, well, how on earth have you got an excellent score when this one element, which is really important for customer experience and safety and all that, is so poor? So I like that.
You touched on it before. There are people offering a service where they just go in and fog the whole building. Well, sorry, but I think you need to clean the building first.
Yeah.
It's really not going to be effective, and it's kind of pulling the wool over the client's eyes, as far as I'm concerned. And it's just not right, because I think it's taking advantage of a pandemic situation, which is morally, it's just not where you should be. So yeah, there are some crazy things going on at the moment.
Yeah. And how have your clients that have made the switch then to your cradle to cradle system, how have they found that in terms of their own clients? What's the response been that they're seeing?
A lot of my clients, because we're so central, are based in the city of London. And most of these companies are international organizations. And in my experience, they are very concerned about the environment. I don't want to overgeneralize, but it seems to come from the top down, as far as I'm concerned. So you get big international corporations who, I believe, I've been told, that if they haven't got the right environmental accreditations, or they seem to be acting in a way that's inappropriate when it comes to the environment, I've been told it can affect the share price. Now, I'm not sure how true that is, but that's obviously a driver. So getting back to your original question, my clients absolutely love it. They absolutely love the concept of cleaning with friendly bacteria. I think some people were initially concerned about introducing bacteria into their buildings. But if you explain to them that this is food grade, so this is the stuff that goes into yogurt, so if you're eating it, there's really no problem. And explaining the fact that what you're doing, in fact, is absolutely flooding the area with literally billions of friendly bacteria. And the way it kind of works is they overpower the existing bacteria. So that kills off the stuff that could be doing damage. And just relating that back to COVID, while these products don't actually kill COVID, because of the amount of disinfection that's going on in buildings, you're killing off all the friendly bacteria as well. So I read somewhere that the Spanish flu back in 1918 or whenever it was, the majority of people actually died from secondary infections. So all these hospital-acquired infections that people are getting today, that's what did the most damage. And it kind of worries me, with the amount of disinfection that's going on, that we've got no friendly bacteria left. So by introducing friendly bacteria, now listen, I'm no medical expert, but just looking at this from a layman's point of view, it kind of makes sense that you're introducing back some of the friendly bacteria that are going to prevent these hospital-acquired diseases take hold into office buildings. So again, it kind of fits in with the overall plan, really.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Hi guys, sorry to interrupt the flow of the show, but I wanted to give a very quick plug for our sponsor, which actually is me and my business, Slip Safety Services. As you'll have gathered from tuning in, we're passionate about three things: slip safety, cleanliness, and hygiene. If any of those topics float your boat and you'd like to learn more about what we do, the outcomes we help to generate for our clients, and how it all really works, then please visit our website, slipsafety.co.uk/start. There you'll find a raft of information, from articles to videos to white papers to self-help tools, and you can start to delve deep into the rabbit hole of the world that we populate, which is all about making the world a cleaner, safer, more hygienic place. Cheers. Yeah, I think you're right about the amount of disinfection going on. I think it's I don't know if I'd use the word obscene, but I think certainly over the top. There's a lot of the leisure sector, for example. They seem to have been sold on buying fogging machines and just fogging and fogging and fogging. But they're they are doing more cleaning. But I think whenever I've been asking the questions and drilling into the detail, and it's the same in offices and things, people are kind of spraying around sanitizers and disinfectants all over the place, but not actually doing the right two-stage process of cleaning it first. And actually, you're probably better off doing, in most cases, just doing better cleaning, I would suggest.
I think we all know that soap and water kills the virus, doesn't it, on your hands? So if you clean the building properly, I'm not saying you shouldn't sanitize, but in theory, it's going to kill most of what's there. I accept that there are hard to get to places that maybe a fogger will get to. But how does the virus get into those hard to get to places in the first place? I suppose they could be expelled in a sneeze. But the fact they are inaccessible, no one's really touching those areas. It's kind of playing on people's fears, I think. Which is.
And how's the pandemic affected your business and your clients' business? I mean, for us, for example, we're in a kind of similar industry to you, and it's actually been quite positive from the perspective of there's an increased need for the kinds of services we can provide. Not in the great circumstances, of course, but it's been kind of overall there's been more stuff going on. Is that what you've seen as well?
No, not really. It's been quite difficult for us in that, as I say, we're based in central London, so the majority of our clients tend to be in the city and the West End. Now, if you consider that probably on average a building is 10 to 15% occupied. So previously, a lot of what we did was sell toilet rolls and hand towels.
Yeah.
So that part of the business has been affected dramatically. So we've seen a bit of a downturn, but where we've managed to turn things around is we've managed to access PPE. So we've diversified a little bit, and we're now quite a big supplier in the central London area of hand sanitizer, PPE. And we've kind of lost our focus a little bit, if I'm perfectly honest, because COVID has been such a big thing. But we've now developed the process we had previously with the green speed bottles, and we're now about to launch a hand sanitizer that comes in a totally recycled bottle, totally recyclable as well, and we're going to offer the same service on that as well. So we've branded it Centurion, which is our sanitizer stations, which we launched about 3 months ago to kind of coincide with that. But again, we'll be offering exactly the same service. If you buy the sanitizer from us, next time we'll deliver, we'll take all the old bottles away and they'll go back into this kind of loop that absolutely guarantees they'll go back to the specialist recycling centre via the canals as well. So again, it's about, okay, we've got sidetracked into PPE, but what can we do? How can we make a difference? And we thought, look, if it's working with the green speed bottles, then why don't we do it with the sanitizer bottles as well? So I think you need to be thinking about what does your client need? What can you do for the environment? And if you stand still, I think in this current environment, I think you can get in a lot of trouble. You've got to be really thinking about how you can contribute to your client's business, what you can do for the environment. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do.
So thinking about COVID then, one of the things I've been musing on is, what will be the lasting impact, if any, when it comes to the cleaning and hygiene world. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but my perception is that in the UK historically, we've not been placing as great an importance on cleaning, commercial cleaning, as we should, and compared to some other countries where, if you go to Scandinavia, for example, it's very much the market's driven by quality, whereas here the market's been driven by a low price. So if we were, let's say a 4 out of 10 before, or whatever we were, and we're now a 9 out of 10 because of the pandemic, will we go back to a 4, or will we settle at a 7 or something like that? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're in a completely new world now. I think all the old rules have gone out the window. You can see the reaction from clients now to cleaners, that they're almost viewing us now as technicians. And most of us in the industry have been fighting this for so many years. I'm a member of the Worshipful Company of Environmental Cleaners. I'm the senior warden currently. And really, that's what that organisation is all about. It's about education.
And we had Barry on for an interview.
Indeed, yeah. I think Barry was master at the time, wasn't he? Yeah. So it's all about raising the profile of the cleaning industry. And I think finally it's taken something like this for the client to realise that the service we provide in the cleaning industry is absolutely vital, and more so now, because cleanliness is what's going to keep us all well. So I think it's going to change. I think you're absolutely right about the Scandinavians. When I've been over to Holland and visited Greenspeed, it's a well-respected industry. It's incredibly professional, and I think we've seen the change over here over the last few years. There are a lot of people in the industry, the CSSA, for example. Those guys are really pushing the British Cleaning Council. And I think this is the thing that will really turn everyone's opinion around. And all those guys for so long have been pushing to get this. Unfortunately, it's taken a pandemic for us to realise what we've been striving on for so long. But they do say out of every disaster, some good things come. And I think that's one of the things that will change, most definitely. We are cleaning professionals. We're highly trained. And I think we deserve more respect. And I think we'll definitely see that now.
Yeah. No, hopefully so. I mean, that's certainly my view is, we perhaps we won't maintain the 100% sort of effectiveness and will that we've got right now, but I think we'll settle in at something that's much better than it was in the past, and that has to be a good thing. It has to be a good thing, because I think, and it's taking what you're doing with the environmental aspect, is actually taking we've got a higher expectation now, but what more can we do? How can we add more value, and how can we be seen as even more vital? And I like that word vital. I'm getting a bit sick of hearing the word essential with all the essential services, but it's vital is a good word, because actually it's not just about how a building looks, it's about keeping people healthy, which is vitality, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I think we've seen the cleaning industry take a lead in this, which I think is a really good thing, because clients are coming to their contractors now for advice on maintaining their buildings in a healthy and safe way. So that can only be a good thing, I think, for the credibility of the whole industry.
Yeah, absolutely. What else is there on the horizon in terms of any trends or changes that you're kind of expecting in the industry over the next few years?
Okay, well, this is slightly controversial, and I'll probably get hanged. There are a couple of things as far as I'm concerned. For about the last year, just before the pandemic, I stood up and said, look, I think that we're about to see the beginning of the decline of the petrochemical-based cleaning product industry, which is absolutely huge. I've been slated for it on a number of occasions. But for so many reasons, I think that we need to change. Petrochemical-based cleaning products, there are questions about the effect they've had on cleaners. You've probably heard about the University of Bergen that did a study on the whole thing, and they reckon that cleaning with conventional products on a daily basis is the equivalent of smoking 20 cigarettes a day as far as your lungs are concerned. There was a PhD student, I believe, in Holland that did it. Sorry, it was in Belgium. She did a study, and I can't remember now, but the mortality rate in cleaners was something like 30% higher than the average population. Now, you could put that down to, I don't know, socioeconomic reasons, but a lot of people seem to think now that some of these products, when inhaled, are really doing serious damage. And I think my argument is, I'm not a scientist, I can't prove these things, but why the hell would you take a risk? These products are not more expensive. If you buy the concentrates, sorry, I've got a few notices coming up on my screen which are affecting my view, so I'm about to get rid of those. My apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, why the hell would you take a chance? You've got probiotic and vegetable products. Okay, I believe in the beginning when they first came out 20 years ago, these things really didn't work, but they've perfected them now. And some of the results I am seeing are much better than conventional products. And it's the longevity of the clean with the bacteria. They can last up to 30 days, and these things are still working away. I mean, I've had people throw things at me like, well, they don't descale. Well, probiotics don't. But one of the interesting things I found, a couple of trials we did in the City of London, in some really big buildings, was that for limescale to form in a toilet bowl, you need some kind of imperfection on the surface. That's normally organic matter. These things clear everything. So a trial we did in the city, whereas they were descaling once a week, the longer the trial went on, the longer between the gap they needed to do the descaling.
Because you're preventing it rather than reacting.
We are. You're not giving them anything to cling on to. And there are some vegetable-based descalers you can use in conjunction with the probiotics. So basically what I'm saying, look, I think in 5 years' time, I think most of the petrochemical-based cleaning products, I think the industry will be decimated. A couple of times I've referred to what's happened with Blockbuster Video and Netflix. They just came along and completely wiped out an industry that had been around for 100 years. And I think I'm predicting exactly the same thing. Unless you guys that are making these products decide to get into environmentally friendly products, whether that be vegetable-based or whether that be probiotics, I think you're on a sticky wicket, and I think you're going to see a major decline. And when these things happen, we know from Netflix, we know from Uber, they happen really quickly. So what I'm saying is take note and start changing now, because I think you're going to see some really big changes.
Yeah.
As I say, I'm probably crucified for this, but occasionally you have to stick your neck out.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. You stick your head above the parapet and say what you think. And I think it's hard. I mean, personally, I think it's hard to argue with your logic. I suppose, is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? But I think, if we wind forward 50 years, I can't see how it's possible that you're wrong. That'd be my view, because that's just the way that the world's going. And I think we've got to be more mindful of these things and be doing stuff to protect people's health and safety, and to protect the health and safety of the environment as well. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I just going off a tangent slightly. I was at a networking event, quite a big one, at a fancy hotel in London. This was about a year ago, and I met a senior executive from a multinational corporation that sold lots of cleaning products, both domestic products, and they had an arm also that did commercial stuff. And we were having this conversation. He said to me, "What are you doing?" And I was trying to explain to him about probiotics. And I said, "What are you guys doing about this?" He said, "Oh, don't worry." He said, "Everything that we have conforms with every regulation there is. We're doing what we should do." And I said, "Well, that's kind of fair enough, but how do you feel about this argument that says that probiotics and vegetable-based cleaners are the way forward. Oh, it was kind of almost, we'll get there, but we don't think we're doing anything wrong at the moment. And by the way, we're a big juggernaut and we can't turn this thing around quickly.
Yeah.
So, off the record, he was saying to me that it's probably going to take us 5 years to get there.
Yeah, or there'll have to be some acquisitions, I suppose, which is maybe what they're doing.
Well, I think the problem that they've got is it is like a juggernaut. It takes a long time to turn the whole thing around. And if you've got production facilities all over the world that are set up to produce petrochemical-based cleaning products, what do you do with all those facilities? Okay, maybe you turn them round into producing probiotics, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. So I don't think these guys can change that quickly. No. I think it's a similar situation with Cheeky Panda, which you're probably aware of, which has gone down the bamboo route. I think all the guys in the paper companies are going, yeah, I can see where this is going. But they can't turn off production. This is massive, this thing. So I think, again, it's one of those things that's at the forefront of technology. You've got some massive companies out there that would like to get into this, but because of the way they're set up, because of their commitment and the infrastructure they've got in place, I think it's going to be difficult for them. So I'm kind of predicting there'll be lots of more green speeds coming along. There's some companies in Belgium that are doing some quite interesting stuff as well along these lines.
Yeah, good.
But this is the one. Sorry.
Good opportunities for some smaller companies. Yeah,
absolutely. And I would encourage other people in the industry, the distribution industry, to start looking, because this change is coming. In my mind, there is absolutely no doubt about it at all. This is a revolution. As I say, I can't see any downside to it. So
no, exactly, and I think the logic is spot on. It's just a timing question, isn't it? It's whether it's going to happen in 6 months or 6 years or 16 years, but it's going to be happening soon. Everybody's much more aware of the environment and what we need to do. So absolutely.
Indeed.
Great. Well, Gary, thanks for sharing some of your insights there. It's been really interesting. How if people are listening and watching and want to get in touch with you, what's the best way of contacting you or following what you're doing, or keeping in touch with what's going on in this space?
It's Gary Fage, Fage. My company is Janitorial Express, so it's www.janitorialexpress.co.uk. Fire me off an email. It's gary@janitorialexpress.co.uk. This is a subject I'm really passionate about. You could probably tell, and that's probably why I move my hands around so much. But I love discussing these things. If you've got any queries, if you've got a different point of view, I'm happy to discuss that. I don't know everything. I've said before, I'm not a technical person. I just look at it from a layman's perspective. I just try and get a bit of clarity on it. But I'm eager to learn. And if you've got new insights, please speak to me. It would be great to engage.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Gary, and we'll get this up, and I'm sure we'll get lots of great feedback from it. It's been fascinating. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for your time.